Science North is getting a big financial boost for its proposed science center on Thunder Bay's waterfront. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The organization has secured a $20 million commitment from the federal government.
The plan is to build the facility somewhere on Pool 6 property. Justin Hardy was at that announcement today and joins us in studio. Justin, how big of a project is this going to be?
Ryan, this will be a huge change to the face of our waterfront. Science North has been working toward bringing a science center here for about 8 years. The $80 million facility will be a major addition to our waterfront and should be a huge tourism draw once it's complete.
This is a transformational project for this region.
The 8-figure investment from the federal government will jumpstart the capital campaign for the Science Center, which Science North hopes to build at Pool 6. The facility is designed to be net zero, meeting national zero-carbon building standards. It'll be heated and cooled using geothermal energy from Lake Superior and built with timber framing, making it as sustainable as it is innovative. Science North is hoping to have shovels in the ground by the spring of 2027, according to CEO Ashley LaRose. She says the federal funding is a massive jumpstart on that goal.
This is the first really significant capital investment in bringing this vision to life. So we have been imagining and envisioning a science center in Thunder Bay since 2017, and we've done all of the groundwork to create what this could be, and to have the federal government step in at $20 million for us really is a dream come true.
The funding will come from Ottawa's Green and Inclusive Community Buildings program, overseen by the Ministry of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. Thunder Bay Superior North MP Patty Haidu says the waterfront is the jewel of Thunder Bay, so investing in it was an easy decision.
We have lots of facilities down there now for families, for gatherings. Many festivals are held at the waterfront. We're starting to see a booming tourism footprint at the waterfront with cruise ships coming. This just adds to the capacity of Thunder Bay to be able to promote itself, not just as a designation for tourism, but also as a great place to live. This is an addition to our portfolio of things that are fun and exciting for families and for people to be able to do when they live here.
Back in 2023, the estimated price tag for the Science Center was $80 million. Science North officials were not able to provide an updated cost estimate at this time, as the new facility is still in the project development phase. Once the price is settled, Science North will be looking to all levels of government and the private sector to source funding for it. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
There are also big plans for the rest of the Pool 6 property. As we first told you on yesterday's News Hour, the Community Economic Development Commission has released its long-awaited best use study for the area.
We spoke with the head of the CEDC today about those waterfront lands, which have been waiting nearly 25 years to be developed. Jonathan Wilson reports.
It was in December of 2000 that the old Pool 6 grain elevator was demolished, clearing the way for some major economic activity for the city. The plans at that time were for the so-called portside development, with rows of waterfront condos and other amenities, but that proposal quickly fizzled. Since then, the Pool 6 property has been slowly rehabilitated, while the city looked at how to best use the space. The CEDC study looked at market opportunities for the entire property and the tugboat basin, and proposes 1 or 2 new hotels, a Nordic spa, and 2 to 5 condos or apartments containing commercial space.
Yeah, so the study took a look at a number of different scenarios of placements of different opportunities, and really what was recommended within it is that there is definitely an opportunity for further residential development. There's opportunity for further hotel development with the inclusion of a Nordic spa, potential for a conference center, as well as commercial development as part of the residential development.
Taylor says Thunder Bay continues to have high occupancy rates for hotels and says the city has received interest from new hoteliers about the Pool 6 lands. The best use study says if the development is maximized, it could add up to $15.4 million to the city tax base.
So it could be anywhere within that range. Hopefully we'll see something on the higher side.
Meanwhile, the Pool 6 dock has been used by visiting cruise ships and the Thunder Bay Transportation Museum with its Alexander Henry icebreaker. Museum officials have been told they can continue to occupy their current space at Pool 6 because there was no financially viable way to alter the dock area to host 2 cruise ships at the same time.
So the study did take a look at whether or not there was economic viability of having the opportunity to have 2 cruise ships down at the cruise ship dock. There's a significant amount of infrastructure upgrades that would be required to do that, which is probably cost prohibitive.
The best use study did not specifically include Science North's plans for a major facility at the Pool 6 property, but it does include a conference center, which CEDC officials say could be interchangeable with Science North's plans if they move ahead.
There are enhanced tourism values that come with that in terms of the enhanced visitation. I think we've seen numbers, estimates in the range of somewhere between 30 and 60,000 people that it could bring to Thunder Bay or help enhance their trip to Thunder Bay. So definitely we do see the economic value in a science center located here in Thunder Bay at the waterfront.
The best use study will now be used by the city's waterfront committee as it plans the next steps for the Pool 6 and Tugboat Basin property. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Premier Doug Ford and his cabinet were officially sworn in at Queen's Park today, meaning our two progressive conservative MPPs from here in the Northwest took their oaths of office as well.
I, Greg Rickford, solemnly affirm that I will duly and faithfully, and to the best of my skill and knowledge, execute the powers and trusts reposed in me as Minister of Indigenous Affairs and First Nations Economic Reconciliation.
Kenora's Greg Rickford has retained that role, but he's no longer the Minister of Northern Development. Rickford still holds dual responsibilities in cabinet, however, as he's also been appointed as the minister responsible for Ring of Fire economic and community partnerships. There's no change for Thunder Bay Atikokan MPP Kevin Holland. He returns as the Associate Minister of Forestry and Forest Products. We'll have more on the swearing-in ceremony in just a moment. Ontario's 44th session of the Legislative Assembly begins on April 14th.
But first, Pierre Poilievre was in Sudbury today. He says if elected, his government would set a deadline of 6 months to greenlight federal permits for the Ring of Fire. CTV's Lindsay Alick has the story.
Pierre Poilievre's plan is to greenlight all federal permits for the Ring of Fire within 6 months, allowing for the extraction of critical minerals like chromite, cobalt, nickel, copper, and platinum.
It would be life-changing for Northern Ontario towns, galvanizing thousands of paychecks and modern infrastructure. It would help our First Nations become richer. It would boost our economy with billions of dollars, allowing us to become less dependent on the Americans after we start selling those resources overseas. And it would turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people.
If elected, he says the Conservatives will commit $1 billion over 3 years to the construction of a long overdue road connecting First Nations communities and the mineral deposits to the Ontario highway network.
I hope that highway will be built with your asphalt, with your concrete, and with your hard work. The supplies that you make here that are so often made in Sudbury will be absolutely necessary to build the infrastructure to get the minerals to market from the Great Ring of Fire.
It's something that has mining analyst Stan Siddall excited about, as he says he feels everyone knows about what the Ring of Fire is.
The impact of security supply of vital critical minerals, assuring that the electric vehicle manufacturers have, again, a secure supply of materials from our own people, creating middle-class jobs for First Nations throughout the North. Like, you can't get better at reconciliation than economic reconciliation. And we have this wonderful opportunity. The only person I haven't seen talk about this is the Liberals in Kearney, and I'm hoping this excitement will percolate into that campaign.
With the hopes of a downstream battery materials processing facility for Sudbury through Whalen, Poilievre was asked if he would support sending critical minerals from the Ring of Fire here. His answer was absolutely. Lindsay Alick, CTV News, Sudbury.
Getting back to the swearing-in ceremony for Premier Doug Ford and his cabinet, they were officially sworn in at Queen's Park today.
Well, there are some changes. Many high-profile ministers are keeping the portfolios they held during the last legislative session. CTV's Siobhan Morris has the details.
It was a ceremony for Ontario, but the country. Returning to the post of Premier, his progressive Conservatives elected to their third consecutive majority.
I, Doug Ford, swear.
Doug Ford delivered a message of pride in sovereignty, declaring Canada can't be sold.
Honestly, I'm getting chills all up and down my body right now. I honestly am.
He says in the face of mounting U.S. tariffs,
my friends, it's no exaggeration to say Ontario is facing one of the most pressing and significant challenges in the history of our province.
Despite generations of companionship and collaboration, Ford acknowledges our relationship with the U.S. is in for some rough waters.
We will never stop working and engaging with our American counterparts to protect and enhance the most successful trading relationship the world has ever seen.
The Premier's new cabinet to meet this moment is unchanged in size, 36 ministers, no new faces, but with some job title swaps.
I think the message of stability and certainty in this environment, that's one of the things that we bring to the table.
Peter Bethlen-Falvey is back in charge of Ontario's finances.
I am prepared to spend billions of dollars because we campaign on a commitment to protect Ontarians.
I, Stephen Francis Lecce, swear that I will duly...
Stephen Lecce remains Minister of Energy, dropping electrification, adding mining to his responsibilities.
President Trump has upended the world order, and we're going to need every government, every regulator, every agency to move with absolute speed to get shovels in the ground.
There's a major change in education. Paul Calandra slides over from Municipal Affairs and Housing, where the government has struggled to make headway on its goal of building 1.5 million homes by 2031. Calandra takes over at Education ahead of teacher contract negotiations next year.
And I know he has the ability and the track record of moving things forward and getting things done.
There's no change on major portfolios like health, transportation, and infrastructure.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. Well, back in our city, the fate of the historic James Whalen tug has once again changed course. City staff are now recommending that the vessel be completely demolished and recycled. A request for tenders was posted back in December with 3 options: to preserve the top half, to preserve some pieces of the century-old tug, or to completely recycle it. City Parks and Open Spaces manager Corey Halverson says the bids to preserve any portion of the vessel were too high. That's why administration changed their recommendation. 2 tenders to recycle the vessel were received, and city staff are suggesting the lowest bid. That tender from Marine Recycling Corporation will cost the city over $579,000.
We did include options. We had worked with the Transportation Museum to look at options for how we could possibly preserve different portions or entire sections. So we did receive pricing on those, but those to enact those provisional items would be over and above the base cost.
The report and recommendation will be brought to City Council on Monday.
Diversity Thunder Bay hosted its 19th annual event this morning to recognize the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination.
This year's keynote speaker was Roshan Dinesh. His speech focused on resilience and community cohesion. Jaden Billick reports.
Over 300 people made their way to the Italian Culture Center to help promote a safe and welcoming community free from all forms of discrimination. Communications coordinator for Diversity Thunder Bay, Anna Toronto, says they were pleased that lawyer and educator Roshan Dinesh agreed to be their keynote speaker. She says the planning leading up to this day focused on how to bring people together in a world that feels so far apart, especially during these trying political times.
So when we approached Dr. Dinesh with this concept, he got really excited and instantly agreed to be here and came up with this wonderful topic of reconciling Canada and reconciling history, but also the challenges of building community. So he'll be touching on the community level, but also the global level in his presentation today.
Dinesh is a Harvard-educated lawyer with previous experience in peace building around the world, and has been working for over 2 decades on the front lines of advancing Indigenous land rights and reconciliation in Canada. His speech about community cohesion detailed the importance of building a strong populace, despite the challenges our society faces.
We all have to become in-betweeners, which means we have to put ourselves in the uncomfortable position of breaking down the silos and barriers between people. So the message today is have the courage to be an in-betweener. My co-author of a recent book, Jody Wilson-Raybould, spoke for Diversity Thunder Bay a few years ago, and she really encouraged me to accept the invitation and join you here today.
During his speech, Dinesh referenced many topics from his co-authored book titled Reconciling History, A Story of Canada, which explores how the mistakes of the past can perpetuate conflict or alternatively pave pathways to peace. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Well, turning our attention to weather now, Fiona, it was another lovely day in the city today.
Yes, but Mother Nature did not reach the levels you had been praying for so loudly last night. Didn't quite get there, but it was still a beautiful day. Normally at this time of year, we see daytime highs of 2. Today, we topped out at 4, so very comfortably on the plus side. We had a sunny start, but increasing clouds in the afternoon. Winds started out from the southwest, very light, just about 9-10 kilometers per hour. It was only in the last 4 hours of the afternoon that gusts started to kick up to about 28 and the winds started to move around and come in from the northwest. We had an overnight low of -8, wind chills of -11 in the early morning hours. Now, if we take a look at what's going on in the region, slightly cooler to the west than the east. We've got plus side temperatures at this hour. Greenstone and Marathon both at 3 along the North Shore, 1 to 0 for the most part. Sault Ste. Marie is dealing with rain, and they are actually under a winter storm warning. So kind of nasty in that part of the region. Westward, if all we can say is that it's slightly below freezing, that's not too bad, even though wind chills throughout are sitting around -7 at this time. Fort Frances, loads of sunshine at this hour, and Red Lake has seen some increasing clouds in the last 4 hours or so in the afternoon. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we are going to drop down to a low of -10, so compared to last night, a little bit cooler. Wind chills about -13, and that's partially because we're going to be clearing this evening, so any heat that we accumulated just kind of dissipates without the clouds to hold it in. But it is going to make a fairly nice evening, and winds will be diminishing. We'll start out from the north 20 to 40 but it will taper off. And as we head into the second half of the work week, well, we've got some continuing nice temperatures, although heading into the weekend, Ryan, it looks like Mother Nature is going to kind of attack your running schedule once again. It's like she knows. She knows you're going to be out there because we could have some chilly mornings heading into the weekend, and I'll have more details on that later on the news hour.
It would almost be funny if I wasn't so miserable about it every weekend.
Maybe try like a little morning bakery. That's what I do. That's how I spend
mess
cool mornings.
with his training
Yeah.
plan. But, you know.
All right, thanks a lot, Fiona. Okay, let's turn our attention after the break to Donald Trump, who had some things to say about Canada during an interview with Fox News yesterday. Of course, anytime he speaks about our country, it prompts a wave of political reaction here. One of the things he had to say was to throw a little barb at Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. That's something that Poilievre is now embracing today. We'll have those details when we return.
He's stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less.